Hello, I'm Birgit Palma, illustrator specialized in lettering. Today I'm going to show you some of the shortcuts for illustrated lettering. If you want to learn more about me and my process, you can find the link for the Domestika course in the description below. Today we're going to focus on modular type only. So, you know, V is the selection tool, A is the direct selection tool. The difference between those two is like with the V, you're selecting whole objects. With A, it's possible to just select like a single vector point. This is quite useful because like making modular types, you're going to work with a lot of shapes and you have to modify a lot of shapes. Then, you know how shift works, no? When you move an object with shift, it always stays on the X and Y axis or on a 45-degree axis. This is quite useful because like designing a modular type, you need to be very exact. So if you're designing like modules to create an E, it's super important that they stay on the same axis, always, you see. By the way, Command Y gives you the black and white outline version. You know Alt and Shift, do you? So if you press Alt and Shift, you're copying an object. You're copying the object on the X, Y axis. So you can ensure that you stay like on the same line. If you know how to copy an object, which I assume you know, it's Command V, Command V for placing them, but what happens like it places it somewhere. If we're an object and we copy it and we wanna place like this object exactly where it was before, you press Command F. And for example, if you wanna place the object below, you select like the blue shape, for example. With Command B, you place it behind. So this, for working on modular alphabets, is super comfy because you mostly create like different modules which include like different shapes and you have to place one on top of the other sometimes. So if you're satisfied with an illustration with a letter, you make a group out of it. So that is kind of good that nothing will move without your knowledge. To release groups, just press Command or Shift and G, then you have the single items again. This is kind of like good to work in a clean way. Then, while designing modular fonts, for a better understanding, you need to see the outlines. Swapping the fill and the stroke, you do with Shift X, so that's when you swap those. Good to know, because then you have a cleaner look without the solids, which sometimes disturb your view. Then, very important, how to make a clipping mask. Imagine you're making a grid, because once you made your modular type, you can decide if you want to use content in your modular shapes. So in general, we are creating illustrations and then we're mostly like looking in which module we can place the illustration. So what we need is both things apart. So we need once the illustration itself, which in this case will be a grid, and then the modular shape. So now, for example, I copy the shape and I place it in front, Command F, place it in front of the grid, and while selecting both of those shapes and pressing Command 7, I'm creating a clipping mask. Clipping masks are quite cool because you can go inside the clipping mask, you can see like change the options of the pattern and it still stays the same. So this is something we'll need quite a lot. Then several options. You know, with M, you can make a square or a rectangle. Those things is the rounded corner option. You can make rounded corners. Sometimes I do work on modular type just with squares, and in the end I decide if I'm going to use round corners. Then the pen tool is quite good to get rid of different vector points, also like adding vector points. Then we have the rotate tool. Do you see like this cross? So this is the center of rotation. That's where the shape is rotating around. So if you use R, you can define like a new center of rotation and then you can rotate the element based on the center of your rotation. Very useful. Then we have the color picker. Normally what I do, I have my swatches in here from the beginning on when I work, but I also have them mostly in my artwork. So E is the color picker and then you can just like decide which colors you are going to use. For example, those. So this was a very fast introduction into my shortcuts. Let's see if some of them stay with you.
I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you want to know more about me and my process, check out my online course on Domestika.